Today, my husband and I are going to be answering a lot of your relationship questions. I had posted an Instagram picture on Instagram asking for relationship questions, and I actually got a whole lot more than I expected, so I'm going to try to answer the majority of them. Some of them were a little bit repetitive, but we are going to start with talking about date nights. And this video is actually sponsored by an app called Ultimate Intimacy. And as you saw at the beginning of the video, that my husband and I did like a little at-home date night, which was really, really fun. And we used the Ultimate Intimacy app. What the app is an intimacy app for you and your partner. It is geared towards married couples, and this is a Christian app. However, it's not a religious app per se. It's just Christian in the fact that it is not using like crass language or any kind of slang terms to describe body parts. It's a free download, so check the description box below. It's $6.99, I believe, to download the extra features, which are definitely worth it. I think the free app part, you kind of have some conversation starters and a little bit more on the G/PG rated, and then whenever you buy the full app, you get access to all the other things on there, and it is definitely a huge help if you're going to be having a date night in. I have a lot of questions about how do we have date nights when we have 3 kids and soon to be 4. And the answer is, it is really hard to do. I mean, you have to find a babysitter and you have to find the time. You know, a lot of times I'm like, hey, we're going on a date night or whatever, but to get on that date night was like an act of Congress probably. So if you cannot have a date night out, once you put your kids to sleep, put them to sleep a little bit early and get a dinner that you've never had before. That's what we did at the beginning of the video. It was so good. It was something new. We played a little game with chocolates that was also from Trader Joe's, and then we used the Ultimate Intimacy app. So this is what the app looks like on the main page, and I'm going to select play the game, and this is where you and your husband can go through and select the options and settings of your choice. And by paying the $6.99, it unlocks the little bit more spicier features of the app. I really enjoyed playing the app. Did you enjoy playing the app?
Yes. So I think it was just a little bit of something different. You know, sometimes you don't, especially with kids, you don't make all the time for the lead up, the foreplay, the you know, the fun before you get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, right? I think it gets you out of a rut a little bit, maybe, if you're used. I'm serious. If you're used to doing the same thing all the time, it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone and makes you do things that maybe you didn't think about doing. We're trying to keep this as PG rated as we can because my channel is pretty PG. We absolutely loved this app, and if you are on a budget, this is a great way to kind of introduce something and make a whole date night at home around this app. And like I said, get new food, order takeout, play a game, and then add this in, and I promise you will really, really enjoy it. So definitely check out the link below and download the Ultimate Intimacy app. I promise that you will enjoy it. Now we are going to go ahead and answer some more questions that I had on Instagram. I'm going to try not to be repetitive with them. I actually really have not even gone through them, so our answers are not rehearsed whatsoever. What was your favorite date and what was your worst date?
Ooh.
I mean, my favorite date will always be our first date.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we went to dinner, and usually how the first date goes, you know, because we went on a lot of first dates, I guess, leading up to meeting each other, you know, you go to dinner, sometimes you know immediately as soon as you sit down within 5 minutes that you're just going to get through the dinner and that's going to be it.
And if you guys didn't know, we met on Match.com, so this
right.
was, our first date was literally the first time we had actually ever met each other. It wasn't like we knew each other and then went on a date or something. Like,
right.
It was the first time we had ever met. So I have a lot of memories from our first date. I mean, we've had really good dates since then, but that was probably my favorite one, of course.
I mean, what made it great is that we extended the date. So, like, we went to dinner, we sat there afterwards, kind of just to make an excuse, and then we didn't want to sit at the table any longer, so we actually got up and like walked around the city just to extend it. So, you know, we spent about 3 hours with each other, and
We didn't want to leave.
Yeah, it was that was very different.
But what
So,
about our worst date? Have we got a worst date?
sometimes because we are married with kids, date night has to be date night with a child, so it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, one recently we went to go eat dinner with Cooper, and they didn't have any high chairs. They ran out of high chairs, so we were eating outside. He was literally just running around everywhere. We took turns eating, and then we were like, okay, let's go home. So
Right.
that really wasn't much of a date night. You just do what you gotta do. I mean, but seriously, restaurants need to get more high chairs. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's more than just going to dinner. I mean, date night is you get a little dressed up, you go someplace that you haven't been before or in a while, someplace that you know that you're going to enjoy the food, and then also someplace that you can talk and actually spend a little bit more quality time, focused quality time with each other.
How do you plan on doing date nights with a newborn? We have a 2-week-old, and it feels like we will never be alone again. Well, I'm trying to think back to Cooper, and I feel like we did still do date nights with Cooper. I mean, you know, I didn't leave him right away because he was just nursing around the clock. But after a couple of months, maybe like 2 months or so, I feel like I was able to get out, at least for a while. I would pump some milk. We left him with your parents. We went and had dinner. I had a margarita for the first time in like 10 months. And
I mean, so it's not probably an all-night date night, but
Right.
2 hours at dinner
is
without
very
your
helpful.
baby will feel like 4 hours.
So if you can find someone that you trust to watch your baby or your kids, you know, I don't want to say that we are in a good situation. I just mean that our kids, 2 of our kids actually go to their other parents on every other weekend. So then we would just have Cooper and a newborn, and we could find someone to watch them for 2 to 3 hours while we go out to eat dinner. So if you can find someone that you trust to watch your kids like that, 2 to 3 hours as a couple away from a baby, especially as a new mom, will do you so good, especially if you can get dressed up and feel a little bit more like yourself, and try to do that maybe twice a month or so for a little while if you can. It's a huge help. What is your most favorite memory you've shared so far together? All your babies are gorgeous.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see your new addition once he's here. I know he will be a beautiful baby as well. So our favorite memory that we've shared so far together.
You know, if we're on the date nights, date days, I mean, we really like to go out to, you know, we like to go to Kerrville. Fredericksburg, sorry.
Yeah.
We like to go out to Fredericksburg, and we like to walk.
Fredericksburg is always really fun, especially
know,
when
the
we get to stay
boardwalk.
overnight. And, you know,
The cabin that we got out in Kerrville.
yeah,
that
we
was pretty good.
we did get a cabin out in Kerrville. It was kind of like a Criminal Minds thing where we may have been murdered out in this cabin. It was out literally in the middle of nowhere. But the bed and breakfast, the breakfast part was like heaven. It was the best breakfast we've ever had, that I've ever had.
Dinner in a bar, driving down like a no lights road to a cabin that was kind of scary. Kind of was a
I would
recipe
say
for
the
a good
best
night.
dates, they're the best memories that we've had are times where we do things that we've never done before and really enjoyed them. So like that, when we stayed in the cabin, we went to Fredericksburg, had a date night away, stayed in another little cabin with a jacuzzi and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to try new things, go different places. I feel like that's where we made the most memories. And even if it's not the most glamorous place, if you just get a hotel somewhere nearby, we've had good time staying at hotels, you know, 30 minutes away from our house downtown, and it's just nice to get away and make memories like that. How do you keep your relationship so strong?
I think that we talk a lot, we communicate a lot. I think that part of it was that we were on the same page before we got married in a lot of things. We rarely ever argued. Still to this day, we rarely ever argue or bicker with each other.
I think the reason our relationship is so strong is because of what we both went through in the past. And when you've gone through something like the both of us had, you're more determined to make it work. I think the second time around, and it's not that we weren't the first time around, but you just realize so many things are different from a different perspective, and you realize what matters and what doesn't. And even if you haven't been through something like we were in the past, doesn't mean that your relationship can't be strong. I think that it just takes a lot of communication and thinking before you speak. You know, I think a lot of couples tear each other down, whether they realize it or not, from the words that they say to each other and the words that they say behind each other's back. Whether it be friends, parents, you know, the other people that you talk to. If you're constantly tearing down your husband or, you know, your wife, whether they hear it or not, it's definitely ruining your marriage. So always being positive and talking positive to each other and about each other is really important.
Keep it in-house.
Okay, I have a lot of questions on blended families. So what is one or two things that you find essential to make your blended family work? So I was gonna try and find the other blended families questions so we can kind of just group this all together. It says, do you have struggles with co-parenting? Was it hard to acclimate a blended family? Do you discipline each other's children as step-parents? Do they call you by your first name or mom or dad? What is y'all's relationship with the exes or the stepchildren's parents? So I have a lot of questions about the whole blended family thing, so I guess that's something we need to address. We have good relationships with our exes. You know, to an extent. It's just on a co-parenting level where we do what's best for the kid, and that's it. I mean, we all want the same goal, which is happy kids, and they are very happy kids.
When we, you know, both of our previous marriages were separated early, so, you know, my daughter, who's now 8, doesn't really remember life before mom and dad were separated. So
yeah, I met Sydney when she was 4, and we got married when she was 6, I think. And I was actually divorced before Carter was even 1. So Jeff and I met when Carter was 1, and we got married when he was like 2. So Carter doesn't remember me being with his dad, and so he's really only known Jeff as his stepdad. And Sydney calls me Brittany and Carter calls him Jeff. We completely left that up to them. It wasn't something that we said you have to call him mom or you have to call him dad or, you know, Jeff or Brittany. It was just something that they just do. Sometimes Sydney will say mom. I'll answer to mom. Carter will do the same. It doesn't really matter to us. We know that they have a mom and a dad, and so we don't require them to call us mom or dad, but Sydney can call me Brittany or she can call me mom. It doesn't matter to me.
I was Jeff dad for a little bit, but
yeah. Now it's just Joff.
Yes, Joff a lot. So I think we both do discipline each other's, you know, kids. You know, I think we're both very fair. If I'm going to discipline my child and hold my child to a standard, I expect my wife to hold my child to the same standard. And so, you know, I don't see it as her child, my child. It's, you know, it's my son, my extended son, and I'm going to discipline him just the way that I would expect her to. So.
And I mean, I need that help. I mean, as a mom, I remember parenting just by myself. And it was really hard. I needed that male figure around to help to parent Carter. So I appreciate that he does, and I wouldn't expect any less. That's what I expect from him. But these are things that if you are going to possibly be in a blended family, if you're dating somebody who has kids, this is all something that you need to discuss or bring up or talk about before you get married, because then it can become an issue.
Something that I you know, not necessarily struggle with, but I'm conscious of, is that I don't want to treat Carter differently than I treat Cooper or I treat Sydney. So it's even avoiding the perception that I'm treating any of the kids differently is something I worry about.
I think that was another question about Cooper, like if our other kids were jealous whenever we had Cooper. I guess because he would be with the two parents all the time, and the answer to that is no. They have never expressed any kind of jealousy, any kind of, you know, they've never said anything like, why does Cooper get to stay, or we treat them all the same. And
they mostly miss being with each other. They don't really voice of, you get to be with mom and dad. It's more of, you get to be with Carter and I don't.
And
so.
maybe that, I've thought about maybe that's something that will come in the future as they get older. I mean, Sydney's already 8, so if she had that issue, she would probably already say it. And maybe Carter, as he gets older, he would say, well, something about Cooper. I don't really know. It may come in the future. But for the most part, it's just Carter and Sydney are the ones that miss each other when they're not together. And, as Cooper gets older, things might change. But really, they all just see each other as siblings. They don't see each other as any different. Carter just says my sister. Sydney says my brother. And it's really...
They enjoy going with their other parents, so we don't get that. By the end of the week, Sydney is looking forward to being with her mom. Right. Carter's really looking forward to being with his dad.
Probably a little bit tired of each other, as siblings are by the end of the week. So when they separate, it's probably good for them for a few days, and then they're back together. But I've never, noticed an issue of them being jealous of Cooper or feeling indifferent towards him or anything like that. So I can't find that exact question on here, but I'm pretty sure it was something about that. So this one says, I'm currently struggling with insecurities in my relationship. What's your advice on how to work through it? And do you plan to go back to nursing? Okay, so back to nursing, I'm not sure. We will see. Hopefully the plan is that YouTube will become my full-time job, and it is my full-time job right now. But the plan is that I will stay on that route and hopefully be able to make this like my full-time thing. But we will see. I always have nursing to fall back on. If I need to go to work, I can go tomorrow pretty much. I mean, there will always be a nursing job, and it's really something to have in my background, but we'll see.
She was a great nurse. She really was. And I've just encouraged her to follow this, this passion. She loves it. She does really well at it. I'm super proud of her, so I just want her to stay on that path.
Thank you, baby. Okay, and as far as struggling with insecurities in your relationship and advice on how to work through it. Well, let me just say that even though it may look like we have a perfect, really good relationship, and we do, we don't have a perfect one, but we do have a really good relationship. There are still a lot of insecurities between the two of us that we unfortunately carry from our past relationships. And I think as time goes on, they do kind of fade away a little bit, but it's always there, and I wish that it wasn't.
So we talk through that a lot. I always, try to make it a point that I'm always giving her a ton of affection. There's nothing hidden, from my wife. I think reinforcement is good. Talking through it is good. I don't know if there's something in your relationship that has happened between you and your partner that makes you feel insecure. I always felt like if my intuition was telling me there's something wrong, a lot of times it meant there was.
Insecurities can come from all different places, but mine specifically come from my past relationship, and I just carry those along with me, unfortunately, and he has done the best job in the world of helping me deal with those insecurities. But sometimes I work myself up about them, and you kind of have to think about, like, is this a rational thought? Because sometimes I'm just like, it consumes my life, and you cannot let it do that. So if it is something that is really, really bothering you, I would suggest going to counseling, taking your partner with you to counseling and working through those insecurities. I am definitely all for that, 100%. So I just want to say that if you have been hurt in the past, if you have been through a really bad relationship, there is hope for you, because we are here, and it is probably the best thing that will ever happen to me in my life, that I was out of my old relationship and into a new one with someone else who truly loves me. So if you're watching this video and you think that, I want to have a relationship like them one day, it is very possible. Just don't settle. Don't ever settle.
We both fought for our previous relationships to keep them going. I was personally concerned about how it would affect my family and my kids. So I know that was something that was really, really difficult. So, I always recommend working on the relationship you have. If you can salvage a relationship, obviously, I think that's the best scenario. So.
I agree. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to end it here because I'm looking at the thing and it is already almost 30 minutes. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing on this video so that you guys are not falling asleep by the end of it. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you out a little bit in your relationship, and hopefully you can get an at-home date night like we had. And definitely check out the Ultimate Intimacy app in the description box below. Download it, use it. I promise your husband will thank you for it. What do you... No?
Good times.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.